Good afternoon, everyone. Very welcome again this Thursday morning or afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. Thank you very much for joining us for the fourth episode of The Focus. The focus of this week's show is strategic employer branding, and we have with us one of the world's experts, Mr. Craig Fisher. I hope I'm pointing in the right direction, Craig.
Wrong direction.
Wrong direction. How are you today? Well, of course, it's quite random how you appear on screen, so you might be either side. But so you're good. Have you had a busy week so far?
I've had a very busy week so far. I've been doing a lot of client work at the client site, which is a local place here. So I've been on site with my team, and I'm doing some after hours events with this customer, and it's been quite a bit of fun. Excellent. And then I do 15 other jobs, right? So within my own organization, plus host the TalentNet conference. So
I know what that's like. So just to recap before we get into the meat and bones of this week's show. Last week we had a great show with Alex Kivork, VP of product at Monster, and he's responsible for the rollout of Monster Studios worldwide. So we had a great show getting into the ins and outs of branded recruitment videos on job boards, in particular with obviously Monster, and how that would benefit them. So there was a lot of really good feedback on that, a lot of replays of the video through the week, and the feedback on it has been excellent. So each week we try and tackle different topics with regard to video in recruitment. It's a big topic, so we try and take it in bite-sized chunks. And this week we're talking about employer branding. People initially, when they think about recruitment and video, go straight to the job adverts. But of course, there are many other uses for video and recruitment. It is straightforwardly a communications platform, and employer branding is one of the great ways in which you can deploy it. So, coming back to you, Craig, how do you define employer branding?
Right. So, employer branding is too broad of a thing, if you ask me. Right. We have to break it up into activities, and one of those is going to be EVP, or the value proposition that the employer brings to the employee, and I believe that needs to be authentic. And so when you think about video in employer branding, one of the best ways to get at that authentic value proposition is to interview employees of the organization within teams, right? I think a company's culture is made up of several microcultures. I think your view of an organization is kind of boxed into your team, right? Yeah. And so you interview people within those teams, and you do it on video. But as you're asking them, what do you bring to the team? How do you add value to your teammates and to the bottom line of the organization and the product, or service? And you get them fired up about talking about what their value is. And so it's the employee's value, I think, that makes the employer value proposition overall. And then when you get all those team videos, you can segment them and market them specifically to people who might be good for that team, right? So you're killing two birds with one stone.
For a split second, when you said, and we get them fired, and I thought you were going to stop the sentence right there. And the reason that came to mind is that when you interview employees, when you speak with employees on video, then employers are sometimes reticent about saying anything other than what they think they should be saying. Getting them to be authentic in that sort of scenario can be a tricky thing to do, and getting them comfortable and able to say, look, it doesn't matter what you say, we're not going to fire you. Right. But in taking the temperature of a workforce, how can any organization know what their employer brand is and somehow get a handle on that?
Yeah. So what you find is when you interview people, and it's better if you ask the organization to set up the interviews than you call and say, hey, I'm a consultant and your company has asked me to do these interviews for you, even if you're an internal employer branding person.
Oh, okay.
If you can have that person's manager or someone from the talent acquisition team call and set that up, that sort of gives the internal blessing, right?
Yeah.
And if you talk to people individually, you're much more likely to get a frank conversation than if you try to talk to them in groups, because they're going to be reticent to actually say, they're going to all agree on the same things in a group. And so individual conversations are better. And what you find is you'll find trends, right? But every employee's experience is a little bit different. So one employee might like this benefit, one employee might like this parking garage, or the number of restaurants on campus, things like that. And they're things that don't necessarily have anything to do with the values of the organization or the stated purpose. And it takes those things in order to make something interesting to other people like that employee, right? And so you can accentuate the positive there and find the trending cool things, and then be honest about the things that the company needs to work on, especially on places like Glassdoor.
Going back in time about 30 years, there was, certainly in the UK, I'm sure in the States too, there was a firm trend amongst all organizations that they had to have a mission statement. And everyone was running around, what's our mission statement? Why do we exist? What are we here for? What's our purpose? I suppose to an extent that would be a logical, step along the path to realizing that you have an employer brand, whether you like it or not. Your employer brand exists, whether you are aware of it, whether you're trying to manage it and guide it and so on. And as you say, an employer will have lots of microcosms within its organization. They might have different locations, different departments. So if you only knew one department or one location of a company and the culture was X, then you might have the impression that the whole company was like that. You might think, like McDonald's, that every restaurant served the same meal. But if a company has an employer brand, how do they ensure that employer brand is consistent across the organization when you have so many different micro brands, if you like?
So I don't know that you can actually ensure that it's consistent across the organization any more than you can ensure that hiring managers do all the same things when they're hiring job candidates or job applicants. It's hard to do. You can try. Lou Adler does a nice job of trying to ensure that they all do the same thing, but it's difficult. And so what you have to strive for is a few required norms. So we're going to sell this job as it is versus as we'd like it to be, so that our retention doesn't plummet once people get on board and realize what the real job is. That should be one of the things that is consistent across the board. And if you can get a few things like that, then you can get kind of a holistic purpose for the organization to promote. But what I like to do is say, all right, here's the team video or the individuals within that team, and maybe the team's manager. Here's a video about this team. And then, and what's great about this team is they're part of all of these teams. And then, show a little bit of the other stuff so that a person can understand that there might be a career path or places to stretch.
So would you expect any employee in a company, if a company had a video that was talking about what they were, what they are, how they do things, and how they go about business, you would expect any employee to see that and relate to it and be able to say, yeah, that's about right. That seems pretty. That's us. And going on from that, people often think about employer branding as content that you pour out to the world, but employer branding is also content that you're putting out to your employees. And the reason I was saying about the different locations or different cultures within different departments in an organization is that one of the great ways that you can use video is to share the culture across an organization, so that everyone, even if they're not the same people, they are aware of the other people who are in the same organization, and they can recognize what they've got in common.
That's exactly right. And what you find, especially in global organizations, is when you get that video from the new office in Prague or wherever, it's exciting, it's fun, and you feel connected to it. And it takes you a little out of your boxed in view of your teammates and your manager. And so you want to feel that connection, because clearly sometimes you're going to be on calls with these global teams, and what you see on those calls is what you and I are seeing right now. Right. That's about it. And so, show me the office, show me lunchtime, show me some activities after work, and show me your desk, show me some cool things that would put me in that office. And that makes a cool experience for internal employees. Plus, if there's any sort of mobility within an organization, these things really help to say, hey, I might want to go live there.
Yeah. So would you say it's if an employer brand exists, and if you can be aware of your employer brand by knowing your own employees across the organization, and I should confess here, I've never worked in an organization that was so big that I wasn't actually the boss or sitting next to the boss. I've never been in a company where there are layers. And whenever I speak with people with large organizations, then I'm trying to understand what it's like to be part of that larger culture, that larger organization. Some companies, they give a real, authentic insight to that. And other companies, they seem to be almost quite secretive. But can an employer, once they're aware of what their brand is, what their employer brand is, can they really guide and shape that employer brand to what they want to be? Can they do it through recruitment? Can they do it through sharing what they are on video? Can they take the brand in any direction? Is that possible?
What they can do is encourage positive behaviors from employees. So one of the things that we did at CA Technologies, which is a big global software company, we celebrated special occasions. When I got there, I did this discovery by interviewing employees, and I found out that some of the great things about the organization that people liked were pet benefits and really great maternity and paternity benefits and things like that. So we started sending out these branded swag bags with gear for a new pet. If someone, you could sign up to get a day off for socialization with your new pet.
Really?
And so not everybody took advantage of it, but those that did got this branded bag of swag with a bandana and a water bowl and Frisbee and things like that. And then we put a card in there that said, if you're going to celebrate this online and share photos with the world, tag us, because we'd love to celebrate with you. And then we take those things and repost them to our careers, Instagram and Twitter feeds. And by actually positively sending that branded postcard saying, hey, here are the places you can share with us, and here's the hashtag, you encourage these positive things that you're trying to get out in the world. And so that actually became a differentiator and helped turn that brand around a little bit.
I would expect from a retention point of view that it's a great way of reconfirming to someone that they're already working in the right place by sharing that kind of those kinds of benefits, and that other people in the company feel the same way. All too often, people, especially in big organizations, they have the blinkers on and they don't see beyond their own department, and they don't feel that they're part of a bigger culture. They don't feel they're part of a bigger family. And when you do those kinds of things, then it reconfirms, I'm in the right place.
And when you start doing these things and people all over the world start posting things with a common hashtag, and then you can take that common hashtag and amplify it and brand it to a greater audience, you do get that sort of global feeling. But you have to be careful, because sometimes not all benefits are available in every region. And so you got to go find some cool things in that region if this isn't available over there. The other thing is that when you empower employees like that and say, hey, we want you talking about this. If you want to, not you have to, but if you want to, then they feel more connected as well. They feel they're part of a bigger purpose and mission.
Employer organizations and employers in the past were often seen as quite secretive about what they did, and they wouldn't talk to the world about what they did. They didn't want competitors knowing how they did things. Whereas if you switch to today, employers all over, all organizations are trying to be as transparent as possible. They're trying to show this is what we're about. So am I getting that wrong? Am I picking that up wrong? Or are they being selective in what they share?
If they're smart, they're being as transparent as possible, right? Transparency is what we like to see. But I found that a lot of established organizations have this culture of not bragging, right? So they do all these cool things, but they only talk about them internally. And so it takes someone like me to come along and say, hey, somebody needs to talk about this externally, because you're lagging in these markets and your share of voice is not that good here.
That's certainly the case in the UK. People are almost painfully modest. Companies that they would like a third party to talk well about them, but they don't want to be seen to be doing it themselves.
That's right. Yeah. And so there are ways to do it, but it takes some finesse and it takes some convincing sometimes.
Yeah. What would you say are the commercial benefits of being as transparent as possible, of sharing your culture and your brand and your ethos? People are wary sometimes of doing it, but what's the benefits in taking that risk that some might see?
So the reality is, if you're transparent and if you're showing what work is actually like at that organization, people are going to get a true picture of what they're actually going to be doing, what their job is. And then you find that because they weren't sold a bill of goods that didn't live up to expectations, retention goes way up. And so, if you know what you're getting into going in, and you can even self-select out before you get in there because of what you've seen and say, that's really not me, or that really is me, then you're much more likely to want to stay there after you get in, because that brand promise is there. The other thing is, if you actually have a good, diverse culture and you show that, then you're more likely to attract a broad array of people. And diverse companies, actually, it's been proven, hit their goals better and are more profitable, and lots of commercial benefits there.
Well, I suppose it makes sense to say that if, let's for talking sake, say a particular type of design engineer was very scarce, and you said, well, we only want to write or build our advertising or employer brand to appeal to a certain type. We don't pay attention to the diversity side of things. Then that cuts down your potential pool of candidates straight away.
It does.
Because people, they don't feel as welcome as they might otherwise. Whereas if you really do have a diverse workforce and you're able to share that, then all candidates can feel welcome, and all candidates can think, yeah, I could work there. And you better candidates make for better profitability.
They do, and there's a phenomenon called two in the pool. And so if you have a pool of candidates for any specific job, and you have at least two women, for instance, instead of just one, you're something like 10 times more likely to hire a woman for that role than you would have otherwise been.
So there's a multiplier effect.
That's right. So there's subtle things that you can do to try to ensure that. But video helps you be transparent by showing your, microcultures, your regional cultures, and those cool benefits. And what we used to do is just say, hey, take a picture of this and post it to Instagram. What we're now saying is, hey, take a video and post it to Instagram, because it's so easy. I mean, over the last couple of years, Instagram has become a video channel almost as much as a photo channel.
I think I saw you speaking recently, and you were saying that most of the videos you watch are on Instagram, not on YouTube.
That's right.
Yeah.
My kids watch YouTube almost exclusively, right? But now that we have Instagram TV and we have all these great videos on Instagram, and you can just go sort of choose a topic that fits what you're looking for. And you're following, the right.
And are they all square videos?
Yeah, they're all square videos. Video on Instagram is meant for vertical, not horizontal. Yeah.
So Kristen in the comments on the side is asking, how do you represent diversity when you have 90% white male employees? How can you encourage more diverse people to apply when your authentic culture is 90% like you and I?
Yeah. So that's tricky, right? Of course. And if you find that you're trying to change something, so let's say currently your organization is 90% contractors in IT, right? And you're trying to bring in more full-time employees. You have to actually talk about aspirational things like transformation. And if you say we're evolving, we're becoming, we're trying to do this, and be honest about that. That's a better play than saying, look at these 4 people and they're the only ones you're going to see in this video.
Yeah. If you look at things from the other side of things, if I was a black woman or a Muslim man or someone in a wheelchair, and found that the environment I might be going to work in doesn't have anyone that I can relate to on those terms,
Right.
then I might be really tempted by the job, but I would still have to be fairly brave to go and join that environment, because I know that, well, I would affect the culture, but equally the culture would affect me. And
Right.
It's a brave thing to do. So an employer has to show, real efforts to say, well, we want this to our culture to evolve. We want to become a more diverse culture, and we absolutely want to welcome you to our environment because you're the best person for the job.
A lot of that is onboarding. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to be, as an employer, very prepared and very onboarding. Most of the time goes like this. You onboard and you're given a stack of paperwork and a bunch of videos to watch, and we'll see you in 4 or 5 days. And then 2 weeks goes by and you really haven't done any real work yet. And no one's checked in on you very much, except maybe someone from HR. Yeah. And your manager's been out of town, and you might have joined a Skype call or two, and that's it. That's your onboarding situation. So if you're in a wheelchair and you get on board and there's someone there, a concierge, to kind of take you through the experience and show you where the amenities are and all the things that would appeal to you, your experience is going to be much better. Yeah. But with regard to race or anything else, what you find is, yes, women kind of hang out with women in a company and men kind of hang out with men in a company, but more importantly, teams hang out together. So IT people hang out together, and salespeople hang out together, and customer service people hang out together, and human resources people, they all go to lunch at the same times, and you kind of see these roving groups of people that sit in the same area or work on the same teams kind of doing this. You might make friends across the organization over time, but it's funny, in the organization I'm working with now, there's a very good cross section of races in the IT department. Yeah. And it's kind of fascinating to watch, but they all hang out together, even no matter where you see them, an after party event or, during the workday. And so I think if your team is there ready to embrace you, your race becomes less of an issue.
We have, at my job, we have stats from clients, and one client in particular, Siemens, showing that across the board, they had almost 50% improvement in the volume of females applying for jobs when they use video. And whilst we want to understand why that's happening, the speculation, and I think well-founded speculation, is that when people can see the environment, when they can see the hiring manager, when they can relate to the workplace and imagine themselves in a job, then they're more inclined to apply. And it may well just be that text-based adverts for jobs, as you would have before, don't appeal to people who want to be assured that they can feel comfortable there, and that then means that 47% more females are applying for those jobs, and that's got to be a step forward for any organization.
Yeah, it's true. We're finding every day more information that says that multimedia adverts do a much better job of attracting a diverse group of people, or even a tough segment to hire. If they cost more money, to do multimedia adverts, it's more expensive to do that. But if you've got an area where you really need to focus on women in STEM, or any type of tough segment to recruit, you make those multimedia adverts. If you can even make them sort of on-demand content based on that user's preferences and what they've done before in your ecosystem, then it's a real win. The other thing is, there are words that you can take out or use in an advert along with those videos, right? The words in the videos, or the words in the job advert, that can actually affect if women will apply or not. You take out words like compete and challenge, and women are more likely to apply. It's just a fact.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose Textio would tell you that if you were using Textio. Kristen asked again on the comments there. Many companies are becoming global with a lot more home-based workers. Do you feel that videos filmed in an employee's home is relevant to an employer brand, because by extension that's the workplace of the organization, even though it's someone's home? And would marketing approve of that kind of thing? What kind of marketing department would say, yeah, we're totally fine with that?
So one of the things that I've done is, for my teams, send them things. Okay, see these posters back here?
Yeah.
I was in charge of our global rebranding, and so I sent my team all these sort of branded company posters, so framed, nice, that they could put on their walls. So they almost feel like they're in the office. And when they're on video, they feel like they're in the office. And when we're on global WebEx, right, they feel like they're in the office. And so there are some things that you can do to help make the home office more the corporate office. Yeah. And I find that it's rare that a person isn't in some hub or office at all. Even if they're a home worker, they're going to go to the real office at least quarterly, or sometimes monthly or weekly. Yeah. And so you get more of a mix. More and more, there are pieces of work, gig workers, contractors, even full-time employees that are doing more work from home. And that's fine, because a lot of our interactions, even in the inner office, are like this, right? We're doing this even in the office. So you'll be in a corporate location in a conference room, and Lisa will be on the Skype call, but Lisa's just down the hall, but she's too busy to join the table. Right. And so what does it really matter? Absolutely.
Or Kristen, for example, who I know at this moment is in an Uber somewhere in New Jersey.
Yeah. Who is joining us from Uber. Thank you, Kristen.
So stringing all this together, obviously what the purpose of the show is talking about video, and in employer branding, you can string all the communications together through the use of strategic and careful employer branding, and using video for the purpose, because as a communication tool, everyone has one of these in their pocket. It means that you can reach people with video. It also means that people can be part of the brand, because they can be recording themselves and be included as part of that organization's brand in a way that just wasn't possible before.
Yeah. And as often as I can, even when I'm out remote, and I'm on the road a lot, when I call into a WebEx or whatever video call we're doing with my team, I try to go on video even from my phone, no matter where I am, because I want to be part of that experience for them. And I want to prove that it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, if you're in your ball cap, if you're in your gym clothes, whatever, you can still participate and come on the feed.
Drives me nuts when I go on a video call and there are maybe 5 people and only me and one other person are on video, and the other switched off the cameras, and I'm thinking, well, I'm showing you me, do me the favor, do it the other way around. I think it's fair to say. So I'm just noticing time there. Let's move on. Very, very deftly to our. So we always speak about videos of the week, and I asked you earlier what would be a video of the week. I'm going to share my screen so I can share this. I won't play the whole video, and I'll have the audio down, but it's a very cool video indeed. Let me just get this. So if you can set it up for me while I'm getting the share screen. The video that we shared was.
Yeah. So this is a video from a very popular gig economy type company. And, I won't give the reveal because that comes at the end. But this is a fun video that does some smart things, because it doesn't necessarily use company employees. We don't know. But, of course, these people are going to be evergreen if they're not.
It's a beautiful video, and it's really well shot. It looks really classy.
And it's funny and ironic. Yeah.
You can see it. Look, that part there, the name of a company on the laptop. So in going through this video, it does look like the generic, really polished, really slick work environment, but it's tongue in cheek all the way through.
Let's cut to a stylish conference room full of people, emphatic waving of arms, while teammates listen.
That is a stylish conference room, or it's someone's kitchen.
Yeah.
Here comes token longboard bro.
So a lot of comments I saw on the longboard guy, people saying they would push him off his board. He's just he's,
Right.
He's an annoying guy. But yeah,
I like the longboard guy. I think that's funny.
well, I like his board. I really want to have a.
You want to push him over?
Yeah, and I want one of these glass walls. So I'm going to jump closer to the end so we can see the reveal. Longboard guy again.
Awesome. This is our logo.
There we go.
It says Fiverr.
So I love this video too.
Join us.
I think it's really cool. It is very tongue in cheek, and obviously it's making fun of, to an extent, a lot of other employer branding videos. My only criticism of this is that they wait until it's a 1 minute 46, and at 1 minute 41 seconds is where you get the brand of the company.
Right.
So what we do know in videos is that people have a very short attention span. People flip very quickly, and typically if they don't see enough in the first 10 seconds, on 11 seconds, there's the guy with the laptop that's got Fiverr on it. But aside from that, you don't know the company until then. So you have to have kind of faith that it's going to come around by the end. Sorry, carry on.
Well, what I would say is this is probably a teaser video that is embedded at the beginning of other videos as an advertisement, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I say that because I know that you'd have to watch it for a certain amount of time before clicking out. And if you don't have the sound on, you're not going to know what's going on. You're just going to see some cool images, and they don't have any subtitles here. 80% of videos are watched without the sound on. Yeah. But if you're watching a specific video in the first place, one that is good enough that's going to have an advertisement up front, you probably do have the sound on, and Fiverr knows that. Yeah. So it's the ironic, narrator that makes it interesting and keeps people on, I think.
On that topic of subtitles, there's a huge benefit for subtitles, and we know lots of people watch video with the sound down or off. But the subtitles that everyone uses these days are just really, from a design point of view, I would say that they often clash with the look and layout of any video. So I think when we get where subtitles are going to be everywhere, I hope they're going to be a bit more stylish than they are now.
Well, so if you think about some of the tools we've got now, Camtasia, for instance, gives you, 10 different styles of subtitles that you can make as large or small as you like, and that, can actually look cool. You can choose the font. You can choose, whatever kind of background goes behind it, and you can put it anywhere in the video that you want. So, so I say subtitles don't have to all be right here, at the bottom of the screen. Maybe they should come down the side. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. And I experiment with that a lot because, I understand that maybe my videos aren't so exciting that people aren't going to watch if they don't have the sound on.
How about speech bubbles like Jim Stroud? Jim Stroud often has the speech bubbles coming out in his videos. They can be very good. So going to another video we've got here. I'll just get this here. Now this, again, what I would say before playing this is obviously a big tech company, Dropbox, the parents of Dropbox, and the idea is that it's showing that people in a company, they are all humans, they all have families, they all have different reasons for working there, and they have lots and lots of videos on the YouTube channel, but this has clearly not been, or at the very least, it doesn't seem like it's been expensively made. I'll just hit, I'll keep the volume down, and in going through this, the authenticity comes right through because it doesn't seem overly slick. Look, you've got someone's kid there with the clapperboard, guy in a hoodie. But the content of what they're talking about is all very real and human and relatable.
But the thing that they're doing here is it's very formulaic, even for a shaky cam video, right? It's the 3/4 angle, right? It's the generic background that is not just one color or one wall.
Yeah. Did you say okay?
They're doing all the classic things that Video My Job would tell you that you should do.
Yeah, and well, so there are. I would absolutely say that there are times when the polished, slick, all the fancy transitions effects are totally appropriate, and other times where you can strip it back. So this one's not the shaky cam as such, but yes, they're doing the 3/4 shot. They're speaking to an interviewer, not speaking to the camera.
Right.
I suppose. I mean, if I was going to be picky on this, then I'd prefer them speaking to the camera, because when people are looking at videos, if you're looking the person in the eye, then it sells more. I
agree. It depends on your subject. There are certain managers who don't feel comfortable doing that, right? And so getting them at the 3/4 might be the only way to get them on camera. So you kind of have to pick your theme, I guess, depending on who you've got talking. And not everyone's good on camera either. So not everyone's good at staring straight ahead and reading a script, and they can sound very wooden. So it just depends on, the way you've written this.
One of the other things I really like to see is when you've got two people discussing with each other, so they're looking to each other, and that classic way where you say, well, imagine the camera is the third person in the conversation. So you're talking with each other, but if you were in a bar with another person, you would look to that other person every now and then to include them in the conversation. So that kind of thing. So for people who are shy on camera, having a conversation with a colleague can really help to get over that kind of thing.
So I've actually got an example of that. Let me see if I can find it for you, and I'll send you the.
Okay.
So I did an interview with Bob Leto, where he and I are basically just like you and I here. That's it. Okay. So I'm just going to send this to you in the comments. But what I did was I just angled the frames so it looked like we were angled towards talking to each other. And can you see it there?
Yeah, I'm just going to pull it over. I'm going to share that screen right now. Give me a second.
And you'll see real quick, you don't have to play much of this, but you'll see real quick how this is on insidetalent.org, which is Matt Charney and my new kind of thought leadership home base. Yeah.
Right, let's get this playing. There we go.
I'm Craig Fisher, and this is Inside Talent, where we take you into the minds behind the scenes and show you some of the coolest tools and best practices of some of the coolest people in the talent industry. My guest today is Bob Leto, who is the VP HR for BRD, which is the largest decentralized financial institution in the world.
There you go.
Bob, why don't we reset a little bit?
Okay. I'll adjust the volume down there. So the aim of this video was what?
So the aim of this video was to just talk about what it's like being an HR leader in a startup organization that's also a cryptocurrency company.
Yeah.
So we talk Bitcoin, we talk decentralized banks, we talk startup HR, and it was just to have a fun conversation, basically.
Yeah.
And at some point you'll see my video. So skip ahead a little bit because this is showing, I think, one of their videos.
Okay. How far?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So you can see now we're angled towards each other.
Yeah.
And that's just a trick of the editing tools that I used to make it look like we're talking more to each other than straight at the camera. And so that's just a fun thing you can do with Camtasia software, for instance.
So if we wanted to do that here now for this, I'd have to look to the side. Yeah.
Right.
And so if I was, and we could virtually kind of shake hands.
Yeah, actually, absolutely.
If you could get the high five.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can.
Woo! But yeah, I see what you mean. And yet having that conversational nature in video is a great way of having that. And of course, what we're doing right now, if an organization wanted to have a conversation about what they were and invite colleagues to be involved in it, then they could literally do this. This could be shared amongst different teams and departments and so on.
Absolutely.
You're killing me here. The thing is, I'm looking on screen and there's a reverse the other way around. So I feel like
I've got the same thing going. Yeah, you're doing it right. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. Wow. So moving swiftly on, videos of the week, we've covered that. That looks fantastic. Craig, whenever I speak with you, you've always got some tip or trick or something that I should try, things that I should do, an app that I should get. What you've mentioned Camtasia, you've mentioned some other tools. What tech tip or trick can you drop in that people are going to have to go off and try for themselves?
So there's a tool I use when I put videos on YouTube called TubeBuddy, TUBE Buddy, and there's a free version and a paid version. But what it does is it gives you quick access to all the things that you should do to optimize a YouTube video. So based on the description and title and content of your video, and even the transcript, it will suggest keywords that will help that video move up in the ranks, as well as suggest adding an end screen, adding links within the video, things like that. Yeah. And I find that fairly indispensable now because it's very quick to optimize your video on YouTube.
I don't know if you noticed when I was sharing the YouTube screen there, the TubeBuddy is at the top, and I have that on account of seeing your video of your talk from the other week. So thank you very much for that. It's definitely good for me. In terms of tech tips from me, I've got a little thing. Now, I'm not assuming that everyone has one of these, but if you do, for me, it's the coolest thing because for years, when you go to a concert and you want to maybe take a photograph or film a little bit of the gig and so on, but you know full well that what everyone behind you is seeing is your screen. So you're the annoying guy with the phone. What I found is that when you've got one of these, if you click on the little camera icon here, it automatically opens up the camera on your phone. So if I'm at a gig, I could have my screen covered and use this as a viewfinder. So I'm literally, I could be either filming or taking photographs. Now, you might think, well, how can I use that from an employer branding point of view? What it means is that you've got a remote clicker in your hand, and you can see exactly what your camera's pointing at. So if you're filming yourself and the camera's on the other side of the room, you want to make sure that you're in shot. This is a great way of doing exactly that. You're seeing what the camera's looking at. So we're just pointing this towards yourself. There you go. It's a great little tool. And I've always looked for this sort of thing and only discovered recently that it's right there on my phone, on my watch.
Yeah. So you just reverse your case.
Yeah.
And then no one knows you're taking pictures.
Well, I'm one of these guys who has I'm one of these guys with a belt clip. So I just put it in here and you can't see the other side anyway. I know it's sad and there you go. But I don't care what I look like anymore. Who wants to have a phone in your pocket all day?
Do you really put that on your belt?
Absolutely. That's what it's for. The thing is, what it means is that if I want to take a picture or a video, it comes straight out, quick draw.
Okay.
Yeah. One other small thing, and I won't get it. We'll have another show another time about more tech gadgets and so on. These things here are little Rode Lavia mics with the Furry Scotsman on top. And whenever you're in a situation where you need to have good audio, but there's either crowds around or you're in a windy scenario, then having those is perfect. If you're in your studio, then get yourself one of these.
I've got my whole bag of the stuff.
Perfect. That's great for going through airport security. So I think we've kind of come to the end of our time. We've overshot the runway, frankly. We've gone on too long. But Craig, it's been fantastic to have you on. I really appreciate your time. I hope everyone who's seen the show today has gotten some value out of it. Certainly, employer branding. There are 101 stories that every organization can tell and should be telling because there's great commercial benefit to it. Find what works for you. And if anything that either I can do to help or Craig can do to help, then hit us up. Thanks again, Craig, for joining us. And please, everyone, join us next week. We'll have another fantastic guest. Same time, same place. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Great to see you, Stephen. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.